Okay, I'm gonna give the biggest hot take of the year, but I think Undead Unluck is probably the best manga in Weekly Shonen Jump at this moment. Now cue the angry irrational comments from people that probably don't even read the Undead Unluck manga starting now. Jokes and obvious bait aside, I do think Undead Unluck has not missed in terms of its manga chapters for 2 years straight. Ever since the end of the spring arc, things have just been ramping up over and over and over again, giving us more in terms of the world building, the lore, and expansion on the power system, and even fully exploring the entire cast that we have been given for Undead Unluck up until this point. Now I will be talking about some spoilers from the manga, so if you're anime only, or if you haven't caught up to the manga, spoilers right now, as I do think that the things I'm going to talk about right now showcase how Undead Unluck has just been amazing these last couple of years. Before we get into things, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps and it shows you guys enjoy the content I'm making on the channel and shows you want to see more. Now here's hoping this Undead Unluck video does not give me a copyright strike by Shueisha, because the last time I talked about in-depth Weekly Shonen Jump manga, I got hit multiple times with strikes, so here's hoping I get nothing from it and I could probably make more Undead Unluck videos if this does well. But with that out of the way, let's just get started. So why do I think Undead Unluck is probably the best manga in Weekly Shonen Jump right now? I will get into specifics, but I think the main thing is its consistency. Ever since 2022, at the end of a really hype arc, which was the spring arc, we have jump started into essentially the Ragnarok arc, and now we're in the reunion arc, which is split up into multiple different sections. Everything post-spring has just been either world building, character building, or just expansion on everything that we know of in the series and giving us a greater understanding of the world and the meanings of negators of the gods that basically started this cruel game to begin with, and the Umas. There is just so much that has been added on that it is honestly surprising that no one talks about it that much here on YouTube or even on TikTok, which is shocking to me. Post-spring, we got Fuuko killed, and then we have to follow Andy for a variety of chapters as we eventually get Uma ghost and finally find a way to get Fuuko's spirit back to revive her. Then we get Ragnarok appearing, where everybody in the main cast has to fight God with everything they have in a losing battle. Even having Victor come in and do absolute mad lad stuff. More explanations on how this game that God created works between the Umas and the humans, and we get Fuuko becoming the first seat of the round table and being sent back into the loop, being forced to watch as her friends essentially fight a losing battle against God, as she has to wait for the loop to be completed, giving us one of the most amazing panels of this manga where Fuuko is just looking deadpan and angry at Luna, the being that is responsible for the loops and helping humans essentially with the round table to participate in these quests. And from that huge action-packed and pretty bleak and dark arc, we start the loop back from the beginning, where Fuuko, now the head of the round table, is essentially restarting the Union in what is essentially the final loop of Undead Unluck. The final loop, and it's all or nothing, and Fuuko is the main lead, the main focus, as she is in charge of just creating the strongest union in all of the loops. And what this does, for the last 2 years essentially, well, year and a half, Fuuko essentially has been utilizing the quests, the round table, to basically just skip through time, to get to specific points in history to when her friends, the negators that she knows, whether from the Union or under, essentially are meant to have their tragedies and get their negator abilities, find a way to prevent these tragedies and recruit them into the round table, all the while completing quests so that they don't get closer to Ragnarok too soon and save everybody from pure heartbreak. This was the best decision that the mangaka could have made for this series of chapters, for these series of mini arcs in this basically reunion saga. Fuuko goes to each and every individual character that we have met from the beginning of Undead Unluck, from the points where they essentially get their abilities that would essentially ruin their lives and then get recruited into the Union. She finds the people that she needs and does everything she can with the roadmap that she made, with the information that she had from the previous loops, to find her friends, her allies, and save them from their tragedies. And this in turn gives us more in-depth looks into these characters, especially characters that were not on screen for too long. For instance, we got more insight into Gina, and we got to see her when she's younger, around the same age as Fuuko was at the beginning of the story, and see how she and Fuuko in this new loop became the best of friends. Gina going through her own character arc, learning how to utilize her abilities, and even just being Fuuko's full-on ride or die right-hand woman. That is how this series builds up the characters. We even get a real good backstory and exploration of Void. Remember Void? Unavoidable from basically the second chapter of the manga, who dies to Andy within like 3 chapters. Him doesn't really get any real exploration beyond that. Well, we get his backstory. We see that he's a heavyweight boxer, a champion, and that fight between him and Fuuko was just insanely cool. That's just brief examples. What we've done is fully explore every single one of these characters, their backstories, their personalities, what makes their connections to the ones they love so special, and how they live in this loop, as well as Fuuko trying to make the best out of all of their lives, and gives us more context and even more appreciation for these characters, some of which didn't really get too much screen time or proper development in the main story to begin with. And this makes me think that Undead Unluck was always meant to be focused on its characters, and the cast of Undead Unluck is just insanely huge. Even characters that I didn't really have any sympathy for, or just seemed like unreasonable or borderline unforgivable in some aspects, are now fully fleshed out and have greater nuance to them. We get to care about each individual character, and as the roundtable grows, we also get to learn more about this world and its lore, how this game was built up, and we learn about the master rules, what's going on with Andy and his whole thing in this final loop, and him and Fuuko essentially not even being together for 2 full years in the manga, which is pretty risky in and of itself, having your 2 main leads and title characters separated for so long. As when Andy had his solo arc, and same with Fuuko, they weren't separated for too long. It was only like a couple of months IRL, at max a year, but we still got equal amounts of both of them on screen every now and again, even though they weren't in the same place at the same time. With Andy, we didn't get his appearance until well over a year since this new loop started, and when he appeared, the community lost their minds. It was like an event, the promise that we were waiting to be fulfilled, and we got it. It was only for a short time, but it was worth it. And with Andy's reintroduction, we fully got the introduction of the true final villains of Undead Unluck, which are the 10 master rules, the 10 strongest rules that have been carried over through the multiple loops, with insane power over multiple different rules throughout Earth and human history. Essentially like a negative or reverse roundtable, though not as many members. And after this point, as we collect and see more different characters in the Union, and a lot of these arcs aren't even action focused, they're primarily focused on character work and character building, that we get to grow and care about each and every one of the members of the Union as we slowly start to learn more about this world that we're in. About these negators, these characters, and even the Umas, the final bosses of the series, the Master Rules, and showcasing their sheer domineering threat against the main cast, as despite how they are not ready yet to fully take on a lot of the Master Rules, especially the stronger ones. Right now, as I'm recording, we just beat our first Master Rule in the manga, as we got an explanation and expansion on the power system of the negators, how people get their negation abilities, and even some big lore on the world of Undead Unluck and when it was first created, with the very first rule being introduced and fully named in this series, and is essentially the leader of the Master Rules, which is Soul. We could dive deep into this at some point, but that's not the point of this video. What I've been rambling on and on about is Undead Unluck these past 2 years have essentially been doing nothing but increase our lore and understanding of the series, the world, its characters, and the villains, but also containing a consistent tone shift, whether it be hopeful and upbeat, to dark and despair, to intense high-stake actions, or even one mini arc where it's literally just a ramen cook-off with negation abilities. No matter what the author has thrown us, it felt right for the story. It did not feel dragged out, it did not feel too quick, it felt just right, and it made us care. That is the important thing. we're building up to the final confrontation, the final battles against these main antagonists, and creating the largest group for the Union, filled with all the negators that Fuuko has met along the way, to make the ultimate team, to take out the Master Rules and defeat God at the end of the day, and collect all of the artifacts that they possibly can. All while simultaneously saving everyone from their tragedies and fully understanding how negation abilities work, and even fully reimagining how these rules function for each individual character and changing different activation and deactivation abilities for them. And throughout these last couple of years of reading Undead Unluck on a weekly basis, mind you, I have not gotten bored once, and these are the reasons why. And I think more people should be giving Undead Unluck a read, as it is legitimately one of the best series in Jump right now, and it is very underappreciated, alongside series like Mission Yozakura Family and Sakamoto Days as some great action series. And that's not to mention the non-action series in Shonen Jump right now that are also very good and underappreciated because they're buried under the giant juggernauts that we have, like One Piece, JJK, and MHA right now, which are all honestly very good in their own rights. One Piece is my absolute favorite series of all time, but I have been enjoying Undead Unluck a lot, as I say this as my final read whenever a new chapter comes out for Weekly Shonen Jump manga, as I like that to be the finale, the main event, and that's how it's been for the last 2 years when I'm reading this series. It has genuinely been my favorite thing to look forward to every single week, and I cannot wait to see what happens with Fuuko and the Union moving forward, and when Andy and Fuuko fully and completely team up again to take on these Master Rules. Also, I just like that this new addition to the whole negation abilities being passed down from other users is basically like the Avatar, and I love Avatar: The Last Airbender, so Fuuko and every negator in the series is basically their own avatar with their own past lives to draw inspiration and advice from to make their powers stronger and more realized. It's just an insane thing to add in the middle of a high-stakes arc and still have it make sense for the world that we were given. It makes us curious to see how things will progress and evolve from here. But that's enough of me gushing about Undead Unluck. What do you guys think? How do you feel about Undead Unluck's manga right now? Have you been enjoying it? Do you feel like things are kind of dragging, or are you just along for the ride and curious to see where the series is going to go next? And also, have you been enjoying the anime now that it's been released for basically a full season at this point? Let me know in the comment section down below, and if you want me to do more Undead Unluck content in the future. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it's just because you enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. Hopefully this doesn't get a strike, and I can keep making Undead Unluck content whenever I feel like it, so fingers crossed. Also, I'm going to say this now, Fuuko's probably one of the best MCs in Shonen Jump as well. Just saying.